Okay. Hello! I'm going to talk today about a very unusual situation in an astrological birth chart. It's not highly unusual, but it's unusual enough that when I see it and I'm reading for a client and I see that in their chart, I must address it. And that is the phenomenon. You say that word a few times and get it right. Okay, Venus retrograde. Okay, we know about Mercury retrograde. I've talked about that before. We're having one next month, and I'll talk more about that as we get to that date. But Venus retrograde is a little more unusual because actually, astronomically, Venus doesn't retrograde that often. So those that are born with it have a hyper acute awareness of the Venus planet in their chart. And they tend to be very inwardly directed when it comes to finding their own self-pleasure. And so there is a very strong need, usually, to see them express Venus through artistic work. And there's a lot of people that do that, but the real drive is with Venus retrograde, and that implies perhaps that they're back again this time, this lifetime, working on the same issue, but learning it a little more in depth. And that has to do with how they relate to people and how they connect to their inner muse, if you will. You know, their inspiration, their creative inspiration. My mother had Venus retrograde. She was an artist and a singer, and she was extremely good at both. And it was something that her life pretty much revolved around for many, many years. And I have my former husband also had that. He was a magnificent artisan when it came to doing work, building work and renovation work. He had an incredibly good eye for it. So what I've noticed is that with relationships, however, relationships tend to be a little bit more inwardly focused for them to figure out what they truly need in a relationship. Now, again, this can sound like many people, but the course of the person's life is always going to be directed down Venus's road almost all the time. Where is it that they are getting their needs met? If they're not getting their needs met, they must look further inward. They may not get as many clues or signs from the external world as to what they need. They have to identify everything from within. And so when a person has Venus retrograde, the need to connect to their own level of personal self-love is so important. And also to find some kind of artistic expression that will allow them to have an incredibly fulfilling life. And so Venus retrograde is the gift, I think, from a previous lifetime. This lifetime, the person gets to work on the Venus frequency a lot and will find a lot of joy and acceptance and love for themselves. And it's important that they do the work. And who knows what happens if they have to come back again and do it again, but probably not. But the people that I have known in my life have been incredibly gifted with their creative energies. So that's today's little lesson on Venus retrograde. And if you want to know if you've got that in your chart, you can contact me at eileengrimes.com for a reading. Okay? Okay. Thanks a lot. Goodbye.